2, 1. This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and this is Games of the Week, mate. Hello, how you doing?
How's it, Brett? I'm actually sitting in a library in Pretoria, and my entire contraption of this pod thing is resting on Nas Bueta's face. It's the only time he's ever taken any contact in a rugby setting. I'm having a good time here on the Highveld.
Can I be the first of your now cohabitants to say shh? You're gonna have to quietly.
Obviously, we're going to have Birch Bernard Jackman on today for a bonus edition, but just so everyone knows, both of us have been very diligent in gathering information and sources, because we're proper journos. I've been talking to the fabulous Johan Jordan of the Highveld, the wise man of Waterkloof, who can make you rich. By the way, he's a financial analyst.
Is he?
If you're rich, he'll make you richer. Yeah, he's really smart. I had breakfast with him, and we ripped apart all the ways Ireland can, in fact, come back and beat the Boks in Durban. And not that we wanted that, but we wanted to analyze it. And then I know you've been in communication with the fabulous writer Jeff Parks, who apparently has been hanging out with Joe and Warren at the same time.
Has had a great night in Melbourne on Wednesday night, hosting a Rugby Club of Victoria major dinner to about 250 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Warren Gatlin, Joe Schmidt, Welsh Choir. Looks like a great night.
Jeff,
thanks for the invite.
Warren Gatlin into rugby because of some cricket imbroglio that ended up making Warren believe that he was not a good cricketer and became a rugby guy.
Yeah, I'm led to believe that. Anyway, that would have been something that we would have discussed with Jeff had we got invites to this event.
I see you're sporting the national colours. This is good. It's real Test footy week. Yeah,
I am. Yeah, it's all on. It was really nice to see how much green and gold was in place at the stadium in Sydney on Saturday night. It was surprisingly so. I sort of thought it would. I thought there'd be spatterings of it, but it was everywhere, and the merch shops were going gangbusters. Like there was lines out the door and everything. So it sort of feels like everyone's going, all right, clean slate, let's go again, and that's good.
Yeah, here in South Africa, there's no way you can buy any sort of official Bok gear anymore unless you're willing to have extra small or 4X. It's all
which in the modern sizing, mate, 4X might be about you, isn't it?
I'm just a simple 2X.
Very good. Very good.
To an X.
No, fair enough too. Make sure you do go and check out episode 22 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast with Sam Lana. A great look back at what we all saw in that first weekend of July internationals. It was a thoroughly enjoyable chat that has rocketed its way into our top 10 most listened to pods already this year. So it's test match season has kicked things off for us as well. And it is the test rugby edition of our end of week show. And it's all about the games that stand out to us around the rugby world this weekend. And it's a long old list that we get into to get through this week's games of the week, mate. And there's actually already been a result in that France 43 have beaten Uruguay 28 in Montevideo on overnight. So I'm guessing that was the French midweek non-test match part of the squad that currently hasn't been arrested or sent home for racial comments.
I hope they were all fingerprinted and had to give DNA samples afterwards. This is like the worst tour I've heard of in a long time. This is almost like old school 1935 kind of touring. Like everyone's just up to no good.
They've had a week in South America, the French, that's for sure. We'll get on to their second test with Argentina shortly. The long list of internationals starts then on Friday with Tonga hosting Italy in Nuku'alofa. The USA.
How cool is that? Wow.
Yeah. Italy are doing a tour of the Pacific, basically. The USA hosting Scotland off a big win in Washington. Canada hosting Romania in Ottawa. And then on Saturday, how's this for a list? Samoa v Spain in Apia. New Zealand v England in Auckland. Australia, Wales in Melbourne. Japan v Georgia in Sentai. And Namibia, Portugal in Windhoek. South Africa, Ireland in Durban. Argentina, France in Buenos Aires. Chile, Belgium in Viña del Mar, and Paraguay, Hong Kong in Luque. And that's all we've got time for. Man, that's a long list.
Man. That is a hell of a lineup. That's a murderer's row
list
of rugby right there. But by the end, if someone actually can, someone tell us if they've watched every match. I want to know that guy.
Absolutely. And I want to see your workings. I want to see notes that proves it. If you have got through all 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 or 13 games, then we will absolutely give you a shout out next week on the games of the week.
Champion.
We will keep our little focus on the big ticket items, I think, and we go to Auckland for New Zealand, England. We've seen a couple of teams there already. New Zealand have only made one change in that Ville Christie goes to the starting side. Cortez Ratama comes onto the bench for his potential test debut, all in place of an injured TJ Perenara. England similarly have made one change. Joe Marler is out injured, and they have replaced 12-year-old Harlequins prop Finn Baxter. I've got his name wrong there, haven't I?
I know you're talking about the 12-year-old.
No, it is Finn Baxter. Yeah, no, I was right.
He's got a face made of pudding.
He's there's a sort of picture of his dad, and he made his debut in Dunedin, and that's a great moment for him and his family. There's a picture of his dad afterwards, and his dad looks like he's about 35. So,
yeah,
young family.
He's a bit like if Tom Robertson had never really grown up.
New Zealand, England, mate. Can England fight back at Eden Park?
It's a fascinating thing when you have two test series. We all wish it was 3, but if it's 2, both operate like a knockout. And when it's close like it was, then you don't know what to change. Because on one hand, you say, if we just did what we had done better, we would have won by more if you're New Zealand. And if you're England, you say, if we just double down on what we did, we were one thing away. So I could see both, coaches will always tell the truth to each other behind closed doors, and they go into the locker room and lie. And what they lie about is they say, we actually did win that, or if we had just done this, then this, and this, we would have won by 10. So that's what's probably happening right now, is because the changes are not rife. If anything, Razor went a little more blue because you have Finlay Christie. So all the fears of it'd be Crusader, Lights, it's not. I mean, basically, Topoloto, Christie, Perofeta at 15 still. It's a bit like, let's try it again. The one issue I've talked about with Kiwis is Luke Jacobson being the bench Lucy. And we'll get into the Lucies on each one of these because they're fascinating. It tends to be where the coaches do make a little shift. So that's interesting to me that Razor said, no, we'll stick.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So I think England can, of course, they were right there. But the fact remains that for 10 years now, there's been a debate in England rugby about which kind of 10 you want. Whether it was George Ford, Owen Farrell, Finn Smith, Marcus Smith. The battle always rages on because the back three is sorted, the midfield's sorted, the pack is the pack. There's no way to produce any miracles there, pretty much. So it just comes down to style, ratio between run, pass, kick, that kind of thing. And I don't know. I just think Eden Park is a horrible place to go on a second game.
Yeah, and for a must-win game in a 2-match series, if you've got any ambitions of trying to square things, I do wonder if the fact that it is only a 2-test series, whether that has seen the minimal changes. And even South Africa have named unchanged 23, I think. So, I wonder if, had it have been 3 tests, might Borthwick have made a few more? Might Robertson have said, well, let's tweak a few things here. Let's try, different back row. Let's try fewer different options on the bench.
This just tells me that Razor and his coaches have gone away, talked about it. Whatever they said, we'll never know. And they come to the team and basically said, no, we stick with you.
Yeah.
We do what we're supposed to do on the ruck. And if we start well, we'll win by 10 or 20.
Yeah. No, fair. That's fair point.
England probably, I think you could say that the scrum was where they needed a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, Marcus is 25 years old and had 31 tests. So you cannot say he's just young coming along. I think you have to say
No,
to him,
not at all.
this is your time. Can you imagine a more famous victory, than to take it in Eden Park? Like,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Marcus is a guy you can challenge. I think that's what they do to him.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how what sort of response we do see from England this week. It'll be interesting to see what sort of response we see from New Zealand, because I don't imagine that there was too many people, 7 days ago saying New Zealand are going to win this by a point. So
I'm like our friend Martin Devlin. I think it was atrocious. I think New Zealand has been top of the best rugby nation in the world for 120 years odd, give and take some South African periods or Australian periods, and they would not be happy with that. It
looked lackluster. Yeah, it was. Australia, on the other hand, Joe Schmidt has made 2 changes to his starting side, all forced by injury, a couple of changes on the bench as well. So Liam Wright, we've now since found out, did pick up a shoulder injury last weekend, which is what led him to coming off. So Rob Valentini moves to blindside. Charlie Cale comes into the starting side for his debut in the number 8 jersey. A couple of changes in the bench as well. Langy Gleeson comes onto the bench. Nick White, Ben Donaldson come on as well. And I think that's it. Josh Nasser, the Queensland hooker, is on the bench for Billy Pollard as well. So that, to me, and I've said as much on socials on Thursday, that I don't mind this. Only forced changes in the starting side. Look at a few other guys on the bench. This feels like a fairly pragmatic sort of selection from Joe Schmidt.
Yeah, I guess we would be surprised, dealing from a position of strength, that you would make many changes. You want to bed in some of that confidence as well. I guess the one interesting thing, and I responded to your tweet about this, which is Rob Valentini, who's been one of the form number 8s in the world, coming to 6. You have Charlie Cale, the speedy, athletic, try-scoring at club level, number 8. And I guess the saving grace is that they've been playing together as a 6 and 8. So
they've been playing as a 6 and 8 all year. Yeah. So that and I'm sure that came into Schmidt's reckoning when they knew that Liam Wright couldn't play. They would have said, "All right, do we pick a Nick Frost at 6? Do we go with that sort of hybrid lock type setup, or do we just promote the young bloke and see what he can do?"
I think it's a great time for Charlie Cale. I couldn't imagine a better scenario than him coming here. You got Jake is a really talkative 9. I mean, I guess all 9s are talkative, but Jake's really authoritative, and so he'll be giving Charlie some really good, directive, clear, declarative sentences of 2 words or less on what to do and when. I still think there's an interesting twist here to see if Charlie Cale has the stopping power on the gain line and the tackle breaking gain line at test level. I know
Wales and I think that's what everyone's waiting to see. I think
Wales
everyone's waiting to see.
Ireland or South Africa, but it's still a jump up on the level of philosophy.
We'll see how that plays out. I like that it's an unchanged back line. I like trying to keep that cohesion there. James Slipper takes over the captaincy in Liam Wright's absence, and that's probably a sensible decision, I think. There's already been, and there's been a bit made of it in the last week or so, 7 Wallabies captains in the last 12 months. So we probably didn't need another new one. So let's go back to someone who does know what they're doing. Really keen to see if Taniela Tupou can follow up that one-man Welsh wrecking ball machine performance that he put on the first half last week. That was something else to see. Even from the way we saw it, which was from behind him, it was incredible to see. So Wales,
you don't see much else on the field. So wait, what do you think Wales can do?
Day becomes night.
Gatland's notoriously a good adjustment coach.
And he's only made the one.
He's made the first time, and he'll come back on you. So what do you think he can do?
He's made a few changes. Aaron Wainwright was ruled out for the rest of the Welsh tour with a hamstring injury. So Tane Plumtree will switch to 8. And James Botham, who had that try disallowed last week by the TMO, he comes in to comes into blindside flank, grandson of Sir Ian Botham, of course. And then Liam Williams switches to the wing. Cameron Winnett comes into fullback. So I don't know. I'm not sure what else Wales can do, because I thought if they were going to do something else, then they might have named Sam Costello at 10, but they've not done that. They've kept Ben Thomas and Ellis Bevan as the halves. Midfield's intact still. So I'm not sure.
Personnel shifts. If you were in charge of Wales, what would you change in the style of approach, attack or D, to defeat the Wallabies?
I think I would be certainly trying to. At the moment, they've probably got to avoid set piece. So they probably actually need to hold onto the ball more and kick smarter. They probably need to kick long and find space. But then they're going to have to, their kick chase is going to have to be really, really good, because Kellaway and Wright last week at the back were superb in their spacing. They created space for themselves in the front line by where they positioned themselves at the back. And you only need to watch the end-on view of Wright's try to see Kellaway's impact on that and how that created space for Wright. So I think
two wing fullbacks who both
yes, absolutely,
and fullback interchangeably.
And we said all through Super Rugby Pacific that you could, at different points, we said you could throw the 15 jersey in the air and just see who grabs it first and play the other one on the right wing and it'll be fine. And it has been. So yeah, look, I think Wales need probably, and that might be difficult without Wainwright. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm actually hoping Australia can actually really put them away this week, because they didn't get the chance to do that last week, because Wales basically held the ball for the last 10 minutes. And I think a big Australian win this week would be indicative of the relative improvements in the teams.
Yeah, it seems like it's time now to ask for something more than just a narrow win.
Yep.
I think it's at home against an ailing Welsh team. It's somewhat young. Wainwright was their best player. He's out. Yeah, you would expect
by a long
it
way.
Should be a comfortable win.
Comfortable win. Yeah. I think that's where we're heading. South Africa, Ireland in Durban. Now, I mentioned earlier, Rassie Erasmus named an unchanged side, I don't know, a week and a half ago. Ireland, as we record this, are still a couple of hours away from naming their team. So, do you see many changes for Ireland?
Yeah,
coming?
We're hearing Gary Ringrose might come in at 13. 13 was a bad channel for the Irish.
And Henshaw's out, isn't he?
Henshaw's back in, but there's still maybe a doubt about just the straight up defensive ability on a swivel. With Tony Brown's offense creating more attack through that channel, there were 3 line breaks by Jesse Creel. So that was created by quick passes from Pollard to Damien to Jesse, and it just seemed like Robbie Henshaw was a bit flummoxed. So I think even if he weren't, head knocked into oblivion by Sia's knee, I think you would have seen Gary Ringrose having a shot at it. There's another school of thought that Stuart McCloskey would be better at 12, because Aki was badly outplayed and looked a little bit out of puff. And so I think the midfield, to answer your question, midfield is one area. And then there's talk here locally, like early in the week, that James Ryan would come back into starting because he's a better ruck merchant. And Joe McCarthy conceded 3 turnovers, looked badly outplayed by Ibn Etzebeth. And didn't seem he was ready for a lock contest in the Republic, maybe in the Irish Republic, but not in this Republic. So that James Ryan, and then of course there's a couple of injury changes that are necessitated by Craig Casey bouncing his head against the turf. So I do think you look at it, for Ireland's standpoint, you had one of the best games I've had in ages by Caelan Doris, a captain's inning.
Yeah.
You had Ty Byrne doing everything he can do. You had James Lowe, trying to be involved in everyone's tries, both teams. So just tell him to calm down a little bit, maybe. Like, hey,
just chill, dude. Just chill.
But one big worry is that Dan Sheehan is out and Ronan Kelleher is in. He gave up 4 penalties. Ronan Kelleher by himself gave up 4 penalties.
Yeah.
So I do think there's some issues there.
And you can't imagine a box pack not wanting to have a crack at that.
Nah, and I think Springboks will actually play tighter in Durban.
Yeah.
27 points on the board, 3 missed kicks. Let's say give them 2. It's a 33 kind of scoring night with Ireland possibly getting about up to 22, 24. I don't think you're going to see that in Durban. I think it's going to be much more kicking. Both teams didn't kick very much at Loftus. They wanted to have a go. But so Ireland's got to win more territory. They just have to. They cannot lose. They had 46% of territory.
It's almost like, it's almost like their possession game worked against them.
Yeah, they tried to launch from too deep. Their tries came from first phase, like a 22 dropout return, which is like a first phase setup, starter play, a first phase try, and then sort of fluky stuff. I think when they tried to launch from inside their own, it never worked. It didn't work for the box either, by the way. But I just think that both teams will come in and say, we're not going to try to play from just outside our 22 ever.
Yeah. The big question I have for you this week in Durban, will Spiders LaRue have to make a tackle?
I think every fullback would say that his job is well done if he organizes his entire defensive scheme enough where he never has to make a tackle. And Billy would say that it was a superb choreography.
Billy would say it was absolutely perfect game management, but there have certainly been times in his career where he has actively avoided defense. On this occasion, where he was not required to make a tackle last week, which is quite extraordinary.
Appeal to the saints of the Northern Transvaal old rugby, Nas Bueta, who never liked the tackle, who never thought it was good.
No,
I talked to Johan Jordan over breakfast, and I basically said, "What's going to happen here?" And he said, "There'll be a shift to tighter play, a more set piece. They want to get earlier into the scrum wars. They want Frans Malherbe to celebrate his." The most caps as a purely tight head prop. Osterrand may have had more as a swing prop, but that it will probably be
a swing prop.
So like people who can change back. James Slipper.
I know what you mean. Swing props is a new term. Okay. Have you just made that up? Swing props?
No, we say it here. And so it's more than ever prized. Like Trevor Nyakani is a swing prop. It's more prized than ever on rosters if you can have your fifth prop.
It's a throwback to the old. It's a throwback to the old 16-17 on bench. 17 had to be able to cover both positions. I thought you were going to tell me it was some kind of alternate lifestyle amongst the rowers or something.
No, I have no information on that. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you. But so the big question marks for the Springboks is the 3 players that could have played a lot better that didn't, that you expect to play a lot better. One of those is Kwagga Smith. He dropped 3 balls on kick, relatively simple, and was penalized too much. One was Henry Pollard, who missed kicks that you would normally think he'd make 2 of 3.
Yes. And then the final one it was surprising to see him kicking 4 from 7.
Yeah, and then the final one is Faf didn't really have a good game on the attack. He looked better when Williams came in. So I think those 3 might step up. They're proud players. They probably will. From Ireland's standpoint, you would think they have just learned something, which is their phase 1 and 2 is pretty good, but their phase 3 and 4 is absolute shit. And they're either going to fix that in 1 week, which is hard, or they got to say to the guys, we're going to go boom, boom. If it doesn't pay off, kind of like
do it quickly or bugger off. Yeah, exactly.
Roll the kick.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with you about Pollard. I think he will not miss anything this week. And in fact, I think, Marcus Smith missed kicks, Davey McKenzie missed kicks, Noel Olesea missed, Jack Crowley missed a couple of. I think they'll all kick a lot better this week. I think it'll all make a lot of difference. So
you had a fascinating tweet that went out about this, and I know there's a lot of silly arguments about sort of semantics and stuff, but the fact that I got from it was that it wasn't a good day off the tee for so what is that? You would think that's one thing you can practice any old time and just
They did look
ready. It was interesting.
No, I don't think. And I mean, like Smith,
Damien Masson,
Marcus Pitt just sort of pushed a couple to the right. Noah Loloseo actually did both. He pushed one right and left. And we're not talking about hosel rockets in golf. We're not talking about snap hooks or anything like that.
No, it's more of a statistical anomaly. Like you rarely have a weekend where that many really, really good place kickers are missing.
You know what it actually could be, and I've just thought of this. It could actually be new venue. Yeah. So Damien McKenzie wouldn't have played a whole lot down in Dunedin in the last 2 years, probably. Noah Loloseo has maybe played 1 or 2 games. at Allianz Stadium in Sydney. Marcus Smith may never have played in Dunedin. I'll stand corrected there. Yeah. But, I don't know. Jack Crowley probably hasn't played at Loftus. Anyway, I'm not making excuses for them. I'm sure they'll be a lot better this week.
And I'm sure that'll be better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. But there it is. Another full-time whistle on another international edition of Games of the Week made our service to Test Rugby fulfilled for another week. How good. How good. Now, we will be back on Saturday night, won't we? Full-time after... We're going to have time to do it between... We're going to do it after Australia-Wales? When are we going to do it? We probably should have talked about this before we went live with that. Rather than just making up while we're recording. Anyway, we'll be back at some point over the weekend with our new sort of, full-time focus type show, test match post-mortem, we're calling it. Keep an eye on the socials for that and make sure you are following the 8-9 combo on all the socials and YouTube and all that sort of stuff to see everything as soon as it drops. And do tell us what you think at the 8-9 combo on all the thoughts on all the socials as well, or leave your thoughts here on the YouTube channel. But do go back and find episode 22 of the 8-9 combo with Sam Lana. It is a fantastic chat. It's a great look back at, as I say, what we saw last weekend. It's certainly an enjoyable chat. This is Games of the Week from the 8-9 combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. Nas Botha. Handsome rooster he was. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. That was Nas Botha, and we'll be back in your ears with Charlie Morgan next week. Don't forget, Saturday night, test match post-mortem.
Come rectify with us.